o'clock in the morning time. Good morning to you, Grenada, Petite Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you wherever you are. Welcome to the televised edition of the Mid-Morning Buzz. It's your boy JC here with you, and it is Tuesday morning. It is the 13th day of the month of July. Wow, who would have possibly imagined? Christmas came, we had Independence, we had Easter. Oh, actually, we had nothing at all, actually. We even having Carnival. So, but we're going to have Christmas. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they say. They can't stop the Christmas. Yeah, a little sorrel and ginger beer. But that's till the end of the year. That's when we serenade, having gone through another difficult year, but a year that made us who we are, because we learned to lean on somebody. I want to say good morning to two wonderful gentlemen, Officers Mason and Victor of the Criminal Investigations Department. I want to say thank you, gentlemen, for accepting the invitation and being here. Again, good morning to you and welcome to the program, GBN Television and Classic Radio. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Hi, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. We're going to delve straight into the conversation. The electronics crime bill. Let's first and foremost, even before we start breaking it down, let's talk about the bill itself in its simplest form. What does it hope to achieve? What does it speak to?
Right. Before we actually dive into it, we have to understand certain things. We have to understand that because of the development of technology, we see new trends of crime and so happening, and realize that there are certain things that would happen and there wasn't any legislation to deal with it. As a result, something had to be put in place, and that's the reason why the Electronic Act happened to come in effect.
Okay, so we've done the background work, and we literally talking about people who just figure that they can do what they want, forward what they want. I get a picture, I pass around, somebody forward me a picture with X, Y, and Z, and without any discretion, without any consideration, the first thing we do is to forward, whether it's emails. So the bill covers all those electronic transfer of information.
The thing, however, the request was to speak on a particular part of the bill.
That's fine.
It was the focus of increasing trends of violent and abusive language used via electronic mediums. Right. However, this part of the bill has been repealed. And I see we are asking to highlight the penalties and so on under that part of the bill. That part of the bill, however, is not effective presently because there are certain bodies still being looked at as relates to it.
Interesting.
However, there are certain parts of the bill that we have the power to act.
Right.
Okay, so
if I can just jump in. The bill basically is primarily called the Electronic Crimes Act 2013, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the offenses set out under this bill are on unauthorized access and interface, right? Sending offensive messages through communication services, and that's the part that has been repealed, and that's the part we're asked to speak on. There's also identity theft, electronic forgery, electronic fraud, violation of privacy, one that's very, very, very prevalent, right? The misuse of encryption, child pornography, another one that is very, very prevalent. Again, sensitive electronic system, electronic terrorism, prank calls to law enforcement, electronic stalking. This has also been repealed. Spoof and spam and unauthorized access to code. Those are the offenses set out in the act.
And it's interesting because I'm looking at it here myself, and it isn't a conversation that we can start we're not even going to touch the surface of it in one go. But I know we're going to start the conversation, and it's going to open up Pandora's box. And I hope you gentlemen are ready, not just for today, but going forward, to opening some of those, dealing with some of the buzz that's just to come out of it. You know about child pornography, and I am asking it in the context because you say it's become a trend. While I know there are aspects of the bill that your bosses are expecting you to speak about specifically, but I know they are going to forgive JC if JC says, you know what, those elements that's repealed, we're going to talk about it, but let's talk about some of what. If we can just highlight this for 2 minutes, so this persons can understand. You talk about the transfer, you talk about invasion of privacy, you talk about electronic child pornography. Just highlight those to me while you have mentioned it, so that these persons can get an appreciation of it.
Not to cut you, we would have basically thought ahead, and we know those are the prevalent offenses, so we were already prepared to answer those questions.
You guys you've done well.
Right. It's rather obvious. I mean, we see the various arrays of videos and so on from time to time that hits social media, right? So, in dealing with child pornography, right? Let me see if we can speak as to what the act actually says, right? It says a person shall not knowingly and without lawful justification or excuse publish or transmit or cause to be published or transmitted material in an electronic form which depicts a child engaged in sexually explicit act or conduct. All right?
Right.
If I can jump ahead, also speak to you can make an image. It doesn't necessarily have to be an actual child, but an image depicting a child in a sexual or explicit way, right? And as I said previously, we see the trend. We see many videos circulating with young men and young women being engaged in sexual acts, right? And for some reason, I'm not casting aspersion, but I'm just saying for some reason, some persons sort of see it as funny. Some persons sort of, you know, I have it, I send it. I have it, I send it. But under the Electronic Crimes Act, that is actually a punishable offense. And we'll dive deeper so that the general public will have an appreciation as to what the act speaks to, all right? And what should and should not be done.
And I'm going ahead and say the person who contravenes and looks at it and looks at some of the penalty. And I would agree that I think it has almost become culture. And sometimes you have to, you want to be able to forgive certain individuals for their indiscretions, because we've gotten into the culture where we see something, we record, and the next thing we do automatically is that we've cultured ourselves to forward to the 100 persons that is on our WhatsApp list because we think it is cool. But I mean, we're saying today that under the Act, child pornography, when we say child pornography, let's define for the purpose of this section exactly in the Act says, for the purpose of this section, a child means a person who is under the age of 18 years. Right, because I don't want people to start losing scope of the conversation that we're referring to just to 2-year minors, little children. Anyone under 18 is considered a child.
Definitely.
That's under the Electronic Act.
Right. Under the Electronic Act. So it means if somebody sends you an image of school children, what should be your course of action? What should be your do's and don'ts? I say delete automatically.
Well, I mean, me being a criminal investigator, I would say come to the police, and we would take it from there. In that, there is not only CID, but there is the Special Victims Unit, so which also deals with sex crime exclusively. So I would say if you get that sort of information, I think the most prudent thing to do is to come to the police and make a report and have us look into the matter and see how best we can come to some sort of conclusion.
And to add with what he's saying, you say if you send a picture or a video of a child, you also have to take the content of the video or that picture because the act also speaks to what type of content. So if it's just a child, then probably you have to weigh the differences. You have to know, because it says obscene or indecent or sexually explicit manner. You have to look at those things as well in order for it to constitute the offense.
And I'm happy that you said that, because it was, if was it last week or week before, but very recent, I think it was week before actually, I had Superintendent Stanislaus, I think, from the Special Victims Unit, and she was right, and she was indicating to me that there's been a significant increase in those sexual crimes, almost 80% or so. Looking at the period from January to May, we did not even cover June. Well, no, we actually into July. It speaks a lot either of our shifting values in society, or persons miss not their lack of knowledge of the bill, or is it a case that we just don't care? Which one say you?
Sometimes you have to look at it in two different lights, because sometimes when you see sexual offenses being reported, it doesn't mean that it's something that just happened. So sometimes it's because of the awareness of people now that they come forward to the police and say, okay, well, this happened to me a few years ago, sometime long before. So although it might be reported within a certain period, it doesn't mean that you are caught within a certain period. So we have to look at it in two lights. Probably it is from the person's end, and also from the end that the person become aware now that they can come forth with information, so they come forth with it now.
So because of the efforts, I would say because of the efforts of law enforcement and their partners in terms of having the awareness out there, you know, and the law, it's no different in that there is no statute per se, right? So that at any point you can come forward and make a report, no matter how long it would have been, all right?
And I'm happy that is the case. So there is the child pornography. You also hinted to it, and I wanted to talk about those that you said as prevalent, and you hear and see of it every day. Violation of privacy under the Electronic Act.
Right. Right. So there are some words, right? In terms of even with dealing with violation of privacy, I think that the general public should understand, right? What does it actually mean under this act? All right. It says a person who knowingly, that's under violation of privacy, a person who knowingly or without lawful excuse or justification captures, publishes, transmits the image of a private area of a person without his or her consent, under circumstances violating the privacy of the person, commits an offense. All right. So I want us to focus on captures, publishes, transmits, and what we call, according to the act, the private area.
Okay.
So under the Electronic Crimes Act, transmit means to electronically, right? Send a visual image with the intent that it may be viewed by a person or persons. All right, so we're not speaking about an accident, but an intentional something, right? You intended for that to happen, right?
Okay.
Right. So going along, let's look at a capture, right? What under the act, what does it mean to capture? With respect to an image, a photo means to videotape, right? Photograph, film, or record by any means. So videotape, photograph, film, or record by any means. So it captures everything. So when you have capture, it's not speaking specifically just to a picture, but any form of recording or anything that is deemed to be recorded. Publishes means the reproduction in the printed or electronic form and making it available for the public. So it's not only now sending via the electronic mediums, but also you printing that information and causing it to be distributed to the general public or to the wider public or to get the attention of the public.
Just to clear what he's doing, somebody might think, well, okay, I am sending this to only my virgin right there. So it'll be like, I send it to only one person.
Right.
But after it leaves you, you have no control over it. So at the end of the day, it is to the public because you don't know what he's doing. Once you send it out, you have no control over them anymore. So people might say, okay, well, I didn't send it to all these people who have it now, send it to one person. So they need to understand that once you send it out, you no longer have control of it. So it is to the public.
And then I guess by virtue of that, you become an accessory to the crime. So you may just send it to, so you, Victor, decide, well, let me send this to Mason. Mason say, well, let me just send this to JC in studio, because JC, and then JC decides, whoa, okay, Papa Bunjay, I have some stuff here. And then decide to send it all to my folks on the media chat group. And just like that, what may have seemingly started off as an innocent gesture between two good buddies, you said to me, I said to me, then becomes a crime. Just like that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then the police would have to find a way to trace it back to see where the source was. So you see all this person being charged. Every person would be charged for the offense.
Okay, and let's highlight that, because I want people to be, I don't want us to rush it. Even in the way they just talk about one act. So it means every individual that is part of that chain, and again, it is a chain, can then be charged.
Yes,
right.
Yes. Once they send it on.
But we were speaking about the intention, right? The intention. Remember, I said earlier, if something like that comes on your phone, the most prudent thing to do is to come to law enforcement. What would be your reason for sending it further on, right? I think we have a responsibility to come to the police and to make these matters known and cause an investigation to be conducted. So it's not just with the origin, but every person where of course it can be proved beyond reasonable doubt that they were part and parcel of this transition, then an offense has been committed. So it's not just with the original sender, but every other person who participates in forwarding that message.
So it means you can literally find yourself in some sticky water, really hot water with law enforcement, even if you just, and it may not necessarily be for the purpose of prosecution, but at least you would come under the police's radar, because when you do your investigation, you would realize that JC sent it to Janelle McDonald. And then all of a sudden, I'm assuming police is calling me, and I probably can't even remember what on earth you're actually talking about. But it means we need to start educating the public as to how we deal and treat with. One element we did not actually, and I know we're going to get to it though, we talked about what is transmit capture. The private area means the naked or undergarment clad genitals, pubic area, buttocks, or female breasts.
I must say it's either you were there when we were planning the program, or you're just a good jump starter, you know, because we had it here spot on to speak on it, but you're spot on. I just want to point out though, yes, we have the prevalence of those offenses, but I want to speak on us as individuals. You know, how do we feel to forward that sort of videos and pictures of someone, all right, in that sort of lewd manner? We at times must take into consideration the feelings, the emotional stress and trauma that person has to endure. So we can't just be careless, but we must be focused. We must be thinking persons, a thinking public, a thinking population, and be considerate as to the feelings of others when we distribute those sort of things.
So let me ask you, Victor and Mason, because I know I'm going to hear those arguments. So I'm thinking it aloud. I go to the beach, man. I go to the beach, have an evening swim, and I capture a scene. It's in the public, as far as I am aware. It happens in the public. What happens if it happens in the public domain? Then I assume reasonably it's a public display. So I capture it and I forward it because it happens in the public domain, quote unquote. Yes, Victor, I realize you're itching to get up me with this one.
Tell me. In almost in almost everything we do, what we need to do most of the time, especially as law enforcement officers, is go back to what is written. So you go back to what is written and then you read. And if it says, well, okay, it is, and you see they come here and they say any person knowingly, without lawful excuse or justification, captures, publishes, or transmits the image of private area. And you go on, there are certain things inside that you would look at and you'll be like, okay, if it was done, if it was in the public domain, was his capturing and probably transmitting from his end, was it really a genuine case, or what was it done for? What was his intention for doing that? So that's why you have to go back to.
Right. And I'm assuming that's why the law is that detailed. Because to go through the act, it literally breaks down every different aspect of it. Because easily, if not, there can always be these loopholes.
In keeping with the question you asked, though, I don't think the persons engaging in the act in the public is just cast to the side, because there is also laws in place to protect against indecent behavior and so on. So you can't just go in public and act in a particular way because you think what we're doing is consensual. There is also laws in place that will deal with the persons engaged in the act as well.
So this can end up going bad either way.
yeah, but this one, no, then you wouldn't be charging under the
you wouldn't be charging
right.
under the electronic crime.
Wow. Quite interesting in a context where we live in this so-called, it is I can do what I want. We feel it is just free to make it feel like it. Emotions take over. Boy, you say that. But either way, the law protects each and every one. Mason?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. The law also speaks to consent. All right, without consent.
Right.
So if something was done consensually and both parties consented to that, then really and truly an offense has not been committed. So it has to be without the consent, right?
What if consent was given to record? I say, okay, that's fine. And I'm going in the context now of partners, intimate partners. So, and it may have been done within the confines of the home. We talk about what we know happened. So as they say, boy and girl, man and woman, think nice. They decide, you know what? Let's make a movie. And they're good. And they're good for 2 years. And then Mason, you and the girl break up, and you decide, you know what, boy? You know what? I have something on you. I will send it to my partner. What happens then?
I would say to that person is more than obvious they would be seeing the doors of the criminal investigation department in the not too distant future.
Right.
Because there was consent to capture, right? But there was no consent in transmission.
Okay.
And we also have to remember, in law, that consent is a thing that could be taken away at any time. We have to remember that as well. Consent could be withdrawn. So I could give you consent and be like, okay, no. So consent could be withdrawn.
Okay, so
you have to remember.
Let's slow down on that one. Let's slow down on that one, because I mean those are things that's where, and a lot of times the public, when these cases come out, and the public may probably make their own aspersions on a lot of things, because as you said, so consent can be given. So explain that for me exactly how it works in the legal framework.
So let's say in layman terms, you have your plan with you and your girlfriend, your whatever, to plan to have a time. We're speaking about sexual activity now, right? And you all started off fine.
Right.
At any time, right, under the criminal code, consent can be withdrawn, and anything after that, an offense has been committed. So consent can be withdrawn. So not because she said yes initially and she's no longer comfortable, he is no longer comfortable, consent can be withdrawn.
And that, I'm assuming, has to be expressed openly. I can't assume that.
Well,
of course.
Exactly. We get sometimes, no. But no, I do not want this to happen. No, right? So you understand that this is where the person stands, and you have to basically get in there and cause those heads to start to think.
Let me ask you, though, gentlemen, because I mean, we're talking about it here, and we literally all the time, but we have not even scratched the surface yet, honestly. And I'm probably going to beg your principals for us to do this for as a series. Have you guys back in the next couple of weeks, together with the folks from the Special Victims Unit. Because sometimes, how much of a success rate do you have in terms of trying, investigating first and foremost, and convicting someone under the act, based on what we talked about, Mason and Victor, what has become trending in our society?
In relation to violation of privacy, right? We've been very successful in relation to violation of privacy.
Right.
You see people sending photographs and so on. Because remember with computers and so on, there's always a trail. So it's easy to follow a trail sometimes with these offenses. So we have that quite successful when it comes to violation of privacy. We had a few cases with child pornography, which was successful as well. So we would find under the Electronic Crimes Act, once a person has reported the offense and an investigation has been mounted, in probably 8 out of 10 cases, there is success.
Right. We run out of the time, gentlemen, unfortunately, but it is the reality of things, and this is a very, very in-depth conversation that we have in here. Let's talk about basic rules of thumb, advice you would offer to the general public, because as we talked about, everything happens on social media. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that device that we walk around with, it is not just a little thing that's called a phone. What the telephone was 25 years ago and what it is now is a totally different conversation. This gives you direct access to the outside world, whether we want to or not. And how would you, as law enforcement, encourage the general public, or sometimes even adults? They do it indiscriminately. They see something, and it may not necessarily be for the intent of trying to let it go publicly, but maybe even out of disgust or disdain, they send it to say, look. Talk to us about that. What should the immediate course of action be? Somebody sends JC, and I'm using myself as an example. What would you say to me right here and then?
I do believe that persons must be mindful of the course of action, because I'll say to you, yes, you may have this on your device. You post it online. You would delete it from your device. You may not have it again, but it lives on to me forever, and basically cannot be deleted, because everyone has access to the web. I say in getting those things, I think the police should get involved, because we have the tools necessary to deal with those things and to bring cases to some type of conclusion. All right. I don't see it as things should be just posted wild and helter-skelter and giving persons an excuses to. Well, it's sort of become a trend that I have it first, so let me post it first. All right. So we should kind of step back from the internet fame a bit and be conscious of what we are doing before we do.
It could be somebody's brother, their sister.
Exactly. Right. To add to what he's saying, a lot of times we do it and we get found out of it. But think of somebody, your loved one, in that position, and that is being spread outside like wildfire. And that's what people have to think. Okay, how would that person feel about that? What if it was my sister, my wife, my brother, whoever in that position? How would I feel about it? Because at the end of the day, it is not just them. I would have a feeling it's my brother, my sister, or somebody close to me.
Definitely.
That is have to go through something like that.
And I'm assuming as part of your investigation, it may not be directly under your purview, but there is the investigation that you render, and then there is the emotional support. I guess that's where the Special Victims Unit and so they would come in.
Yeah.
Because that could just traumatize anybody. I mean, it doesn't matter, even if you know what you did, but the fact that somebody is there publicly, that alone has emotionally is going to disturb the best of us.
Also, what we want the public to know is that the offense, while it may be a summary offense, the penalty is very steep, and people should be mindful of that. Because we've seen here, although it's a summary offense, we've seen here that a person are found guilty of it. They could, on summary conviction, to a fine not exceeding $200,000 or to imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or both.
Let me just ask you while you're there though, because it's a term, and I guess because I'm in the media, we hear it all the time. Summary conviction. For the purpose of our listening and viewing audience, what exactly you mean does the law make reference means when it talks about summary offense?
Right. Lawfully, we put it in two different brackets. We have summary and we have indictable. The summary would be the lesser offense, and the indictable would be more serious.
Right.
So in summary offense, is usually this triable before a magistrate, whereas the indictable offense, he has to go before the judge or the jury or to the high court. So that's the difference. The summary is lesser. You'd be completed in magistrate court, whereas the indictable offense has to go before the Supreme Court.
But that summary offense that goes before the magistrate, could it possibly lead to somebody going up to Richmond Hill?
Well, yes, because it does say that. It says you could be fined $200,000 or 3 months in prison or both.
And I wanted to add that part because in some people's mind they're thinking, okay, summary, okay, you ain't that bad. Maybe the least is going to happen to be the police is going to talk to me. At the end of the day, you can find yourself up in Richmond Hill.
Yeah, do not be fooled. Do not be fooled by the word. I think it more so, as Officer Victor just said, it's just a matter of jurisdiction.
Right.
Who has carried out that matter, and not necessarily how serious the offense is, because there are many serious offenses that is being carried through the magistrate's court as well.
Yeah.
And I wanted us to specifically do that because the idea is for us to educate the public, and a lot of times people find themselves on the wrong side of the law because they don't know and they don't realize that they don't know. But summary or indictable offense, at the end of the day, if you break the law, you can end up in jail.
There is a penalty.
There's a penalty.
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
True.
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Because people will be like, well, I didn't know. And that is not an excuse.
Well, if you did not know, you may probably end up going to prison for a period of time that you don't know and meet some people up there that you don't know. So in order not to do that, I would say try to avoid.
Yes.
And you would encourage parents, educate our children. Because sometimes as adults, even as adults, we err even in that persuasion. But children sometimes can become more susceptible. They receive images. What advice would you have before we run though? Would you offer to parents? Because we talk about child pornography. There's a whole lot of different things that we can talk about. But what would you advice would you offer to children? Because now, years ago, the internet was where adults went. Now. A little child, from the time they're 2 years old, they have a tablet in their hand. The world is in front of them. What advice would you offer to parents?
I would say, of course, it begins with the parents because they are the ones with the means to get the device and so on for the children. As much as they may not like it, but there must be some parental supervision and intervention. These devices that we call smart devices now, there are many features, right, that parents can use to have some type of control as to the content that their child or children are being exposed to.
Victor, before we wrap.
As he said, apart from you putting some parental control on the device, supervision is a big thing. Almost all what you do, supervise. You watch what your child is doing. Because as he said, a cell phone, information can come through so quickly. Even with the parental control sometimes. Some of it is easy to get past. And something you don't go looking for certain things and certain things pop up. Mm-hmm. So in that way, I would just say that supervision, parents should be mindful and always remember, listen, this is my kid. they got a tablet, they got a
Right.
phone. Let me see what is happening.
Exactly.
These phones shouldn't have any password or any locks that a child will control. The parent should be in control of that. So whenever your child comes from the tablet, the computer, the cell phone, whatever it be, you go and you look at it. You go into history, you go and look at what your child has been doing.
Stay on top of things.
Kind of control. Yes, and you know what is happening.
Stay on top of things. That's a word of advice to parents, reminding you that literally, as it is under the Electronics Act, there's a lot of different components to it. Whether or not it comes from sending child pornography, from breach of privacy. Janelle, do not come in the studio, take my photo, and send it to Miss Campbell or anybody else, because I didn't ask you to take my picture. I'm going to call Officer Mason and Officer Victor, and you can go to jail. Thank you, gentlemen. We continue this conversation another day and time. Indeed, it was a pleasure being here waiting for you. We just talking to the folks, of course, in Officer Mason and Victor of the Criminal Investigations Department. Quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right here on the Mid-Morning Buzz, right here on Classic.
Looking for that injection of vibes and energy, of course? Well, I've got just that. Hi, my name is Gary, Mr. Smooth, and I'm inviting you to join me on the Hot Morning Show on Hot 98.5, 98.7 FM. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 10 in the morning. I've got a healthy dose of your favorite and most infectious hits sampled with information, news, laughter, and all the other ingredients that go into making the hottest morning show on the radio, The Morning Heat. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit us up on WhatsApp, 435-7517. We've got topics, we've got discussions, calls, voice notes, and so much more. But I can't tell you everything. You gotta tune in. The Hot Morning Show on Hot FM 98.5, 98.7 with yours truly, Gary, Mr. Smooth. Kaboom!
Hey folks, you're invited to tune in to Grenada Music to the World program, hosted by Eugene Gittens on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Classic Radio 105.5, 105.
Next guest for you this morning, and of course I'm smiling, my old friend, my colleague from a former life. Good morning to you, Nicholas Snaggs. How are you, comrade?
Good morning, Joseph. Good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful. Literally, I am wonderful. Indeed, it is a pleasure speaking to you, seeing you. It's quite a while I have not had a conversation with any individual from GAP as it is, and now here we are. How is GAP? I know that you've been through a transitionary period since the passing of Vasquez, my wonderful friend Carol Vasquez, a wonderful soul, individual. May her soul rest in peace. Started on a mandate. She's no longer with us, but we're happy, one, that the organization is continuing, and there is a male face that represents it. What has God been up to? What have you been up to as an organization?
Well, good morning to you, Joseph, again, and good morning to the listening public and the viewing public of Grenada. I give God thanks for the breath of life to be here to speak with you. A lot of us didn't make it today being here this morning, so I want to give him thanks for that. And thank you to GBN for the opportunity to speak on GARP and let you know that GARP is here. We're alive and we kick in and we're making noises and we're doing all the things to support our seniors as our mandate dictates. Yes, we lost Carol late last year. It was a blow to us, but we have picked up the pieces and we're moving forward. And we're doing a lot of things we're doing. And we're actually getting ready to celebrate our 10th year anniversary, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the main thing on our ticket today. But I would speak to many different things that GARP is doing, right? In the height of the pandemic, we didn't sit back and did nothing. We recognized the needs out there, and we started a splinter group, Care Grenada, that did some phenomenal things during the height of the COVID period that fed over 300 people that was in desperate need, and not only fed them, give them a smiling face that somebody actually came and visit them and see them, and they were, I'm very appreciative of that. That's just one thing we've done. Yeah, there's many other things we have done and continue to do, advocating for our seniors. We partner up with the Desk of the Elderly to bring awareness to the abuse of the elders, which was last month, which is June. Yeah, and I think you had them on your program speaking about that. That's an ongoing issue, systemic to our society that we all need to pay a lot of attention to. Health issues with all of our seniors with non-communicable disease, NCDs. We had a program in May that we had partnered up with the Diabetic Association of St. George's with the Seventh-day Adventist group to bring a health clinic to the GARP Welcome Center in Carney James Groover. That had a tremendous turnout of people turn out to that, looking for services and getting help with that dreaded non-communicable disease. And there's many of them out there, but that's one that we focus on very heavily with GARP. As you know, Carol was diabetic, and she did a lot of things to make sure that our seniors are very well educated where that disease is concerned.
Let me ask you, though, Nick, so because, of course...
Yeah, doing a lot.
But so at least we can clear up any misperception, because you keep using the term seniors, and we look at you, and probably people might be thinking, okay, Nicholas Snaggs, seniors... How do you fit into that conversation? But remind individuals, GAP as an organization, exactly what does the acronym represent?
I didn't hear that clearly. Can you repeat?
I say you keep making a reference to GAP as an organization and ensuring it's the survivability of seniors, quote unquote. But very often when we talk about seniors, we tend to look at seniors in the context of a man in the waning years of his life with a walking stick, and he's over and done with. But GAP is not just about that, is it? It seeks to empower life after your formal work years.
Very well said. Thank you. Are you a GAP member? If not, you should be.
Well, if you are, then by default I become a member. I feel encouraged now to join.
Yeah. Well, listen to me. GARP is for seniors that's 50 years and over.
Right.
So we're talking just retirement people. Yeah, that's a cutoff. That's a beginning. Is 50. Now think about it. How long people are living these days? Yeah, 50 is not all that old. 50, you're just getting started. 50, you're just hitting your stride. 50, you're just now at your peak in your earning power. You're just now at the peak of your life, your wisdom, all the knowledge you have gained in the past 50 years. You've now putting that all to use.
Right.
Yeah. So, being a member of GARP at 50 is what we're looking for. We're looking to grow a membership right now. For people starting at 50, that's just yourself. You're not retired. You're very vibrant. You're enthusiastic about life. You have ideas. You want to share it with others. This is what GARP is all about. We are not about just because you're retired and you're sitting at home and you have nothing to do and you want to hang out with some senior people. No. Yeah, we welcome that. We do that. We do that quite well. We socialize quite well, and we do that quite well.
And there is
what we're all about is advocating for this in their society, the service, the resources that are available to them. Yeah. When you think about it, in the Caribbean, Latin America, the fastest growing population is the 50 plus.
Right.
Think about that. Fastest growing. What are the services available for them? Very little or limited to what's available to them. Yeah, technology is changing so much, and one of the biggest divide we have right now is that age group. How do they cope in this pandemic period where everything has gone online overnight, literally?
Right.
Yeah, How do they cope with that? So GARP is here for that. We're starting now to have, we did Zoom classes so that people can understand how to use Zoom. We did classes with people how to understand to use this to communicate with the families. Think about that for a minute. You're in Grenada, all your children are in New York, London, Singapore, wherever Grenadians are, we need to be communicating with. So how do they do that? Yeah.
Let me ask you though, Nick, how important is it, guys? I don't think a lot of time people appreciate it, because we get the feeling that because when persons they've gotten to that secondary, that next phase of their life, there's always that misperception that their life has ended. You know what? He or she 50 plus, and even with the way persons themselves 50 plus, they see themselves as what they say, I'm going downhill now. But GAP wants to change that perception, that 50 plus has nothing to do with going downhill. 50 plus has now heading to the pinnacle and achieving the full realization of what your life really and truly can offer.
You sure you're not a member of GAP? I've signed in you up free of charge.
You remember I told you Carol was my good friend.
I know. Yes, that's exactly it, Joseph. That's exactly it. Now, think about it for a minute. How many 50-year-olds you know that are vibrant people? They go dancing, they're active in their church group, they're active in the community, they're active as musicians, they're active swimmers, exercisers, all of those things. These are not people sitting on a chair and a sofa waiting for somebody to come and talk to them. No, these are people that are out there doing things, starting new businesses, starting new adventures, going on adventures for themselves, hiking all through the rainforest. These are 50 plus people. They're very vibrant people. Now, this is where, I want to pause for a moment and say that GARP is celebrating our 10th year anniversary this year. Yeah? 10 years. Imagine that. 10 years. How much organizations you know are around that long and are vibrant and doing things and contributing to this Grenadian society? There's not many of them. Yeah? There's very few of them. So we are celebrating our 10th anniversary on Friday the 16th, and we want to invite all Grenadians, young, 50 plus, 30 plus, 20 plus, 16, 5, it doesn't matter. Come on out and celebrate with us on Karani James Boulevard, right next to the Foodland parking lot. You're going to see the tents up, you're going to see the activities happening, and we invite you to come on down. We're going to have speakers, we're going to have spoken words, we're going to have entertainers, we're going to have music, we're going to have food and drinks on sale. So we have you covered. Come on down, celebrate with us, and I'm appealing, Joseph, particularly to the 50 plus men, for them to come and join GARP. We're really looking for the men to come out. Now, Joseph, as you know, there's no slight on men, is that most of these organizations that's out there, you name them, the active members are the female side of our. But I want to get some men to come out and join me in GARP and invigorate GARP with their enthusiasm, with their knowledge that they have, right? And I'm also reaching out to all our senior members of society out there. Come to GARP, talk to us. You may have, think about it, how many 15 years old are engineers, doctors, social workers, artists, musicians, and all of these people. Come on out and share that talent. Once you're gone, that talent is gone. We no longer have access to it.
True.
You know to pass it along. Yeah, and you may have your grandchildren and come around, join us, tell the stories of your life. We have writers. Right now, I can think about 4 authors, published authors that are members of GARP that have books on the market that are selling on Amazon, on eBay, and all these online portals. So I met a lady yesterday that told me she's willing to teach a writing class at GARP. So this is what I'm telling you that we can offer to you as GARP, as come and be a member. Join it. Let not let this resource go. Untapped into. We really and truly need to tap into that resource. Before we get off on another tangent, I was just reading the other day that this is a growing problem where you have people that are 50 plus finding themselves in severe financial strait and don't know where to turn. It's not that they didn't plan for it. It's not that they didn't prepare for it, but life happens. You get sick.
COVID happened.
You spent all your life savings. Your daughter, your cousin, your whatever is, you help a family member.
Right.
You lost your job because of COVID. Yeah. What do you do? Yeah. So these are all really and truly nuts and bolts, as the union people would say, bread and butter.
Right.
Issues that speak directly to an older person. So we need to be all looking at this holistically and putting together plans and programs and advocating with our governments so we can now put programs in place to address these things. And that's one of the things we do with GARP. We are on the advisory board of a lot of these social development committees that the Ministry of Social Development has. We are also working along with St. George's University.
Right.
To put along some videos and pamphlets for the NCDs, the non-communicable diseases out there. We're talking videos that will be shown in the health centers so that people can understand how to deal with diabetes. And a lot of times the diabetic people can control the diabetes through lifestyle changes.
Indeed.
Diet, exercise, and even your mental attitude can change towards it, can go a long way to helping you. So these are the little things we are doing as GARP, to let the people know out there there's ways and means of dealing with a lot of the challenges that you find in life as a senior person. That, you know, I think it's really and truly a great resource we have in the 50 plus people that we need to tap into.
And for the naysayers, Nick, they have to be able to realize the wealth of knowledge, because GAP as it is not just, as they said, old people that just got there overnight. You're talking about CEOs, mothers, fathers, engineers, writers, doctors, football players, professional athletes. And that's who GAP caters for. There's no stereotype as to who can become a member. So this is not an elitist club, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. We cater for everyone. The shuttings we take care of. Yeah? When I say the shuttings, I mean they are literally shutting. They're in their home and they're by themselves.
Right.
We take care of. We have groups that are organized with us that we do soup kitchens, and there are people who go out and do the home care. So we partner with them, and they know who they are. And we says, okay, let us get them something to eat today. I was on another program, and somebody said, well, you give them a bowl of soup. Really, is that all you can do? But we're hitting a need. That person is in need of that soup, and they're waiting for it.
Right.
And they're waiting for the person to bring it and bring a smile and have a conversation with them. Is there anybody out there else doing it? No. So don't say it's just a bowl of soup. It is what it is. You understand? And I get passionate about it because, you know, we're a small group. We're self-funded. We get a little subvention, but think about it. All these things we're doing, we have some great partners that came along with us. If I start to name them all, we wouldn't have.
It would take forever, yes.
Corporate partners that partnered with us over the years that allowed us to do tremendous things.
It's interesting that you're talking to me and I'm smiling because I remember one of the conversations that Carol and I had was a concern that, and it was one of a really, real genuine concern. That's when I saw you, I smiled, that there was a fear and a reservation and a hesitation among males to be part of the association, because traditionally the question what happens to a male, a manager. Imagine you were CEO for 30, 40 years. All of a sudden now you were used to giving instructions to hundreds of people. You've now retired.
Yes.
And now you're sitting home doing nothing. And you say the post-retirement life very often becomes more traumatic for men, more so than it is for women. Women will do gardening, enjoy little sewing clubs, but men tend to hold on to. But I'm happy that at least I'm getting the sense that you want to change that.
Yes, I definitely want to change that. I want to change that yesterday. I don't even want to change it today. That's how badly I want to change it.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and men, we internalize too much. We don't speak on what our issues are. Yeah. I heard an alarming statistic from Dr. Martin that there's 1 in 4 men is going to die of prostate cancer. Why? The simple reason they don't have a relationship with a medical doctor. Think about that for a moment. As simple as that.
Right.
Yeah. You can have your medical checks and stuff, thinking doing about it. The women in our society have a tremendous relationship with their medical practitioners, where they know them, they speak with them all the time, but we don't. We shy away, or we're having a little discomfort, but we're not speaking about it. It will go away. No.
That's not always the case.
That is not always the case. We need to be more proactive about it. This is why, if they come into GARP, they will get so much information, they will be able to be more proactive where it comes to their medical care, their social psycho care. All of those things are available.
And I know, Nick, you and I, left up to our own devices, we can easily converse for the next 2 hours, but time does not permit because we have to make way for the luncheon edition. But I hope that you will take the opportunity through your girl Jan, or give me a call. Let's have this conversation in the not too distant future. I hope you promise.
Definitely.
Wonderful.
And one more thing, I just want to remind your listeners and the viewing public of our 10th anniversary happening this Friday at GARP. We're having an expo that going from 10 to 3, and the official program will go from 4 p.m. to about 8:30. Because COVID protocol is always be in effect. So please come on out, bring your mask, and let's have a good time.
Let's have a good time with Nicholas Steele and Nicholas Snaggs, and the rest of the
that responsibility.
And the rest of the team from GAP. Nikki, it's always a pleasure talking to you, bro. Peace and love. You continue to do the great work. All the best to you.
Thank you.
It's 3 minutes on to the hour of 12 o'clock. We are running behind time. Reminding you at the top of the hour, it's the midday edition, a production of our News and Current Affairs Department. For those of you that is on television, we send you back to Master Control for your regular programming. Those of you that's on radio, the midday edition comes up at the top of the hour and will be presented by Christina John. Peace and love. JC loves you. Continue to live life and love life. I leave you here for now as we get ready for the midday edition.